You felt something shift in your life. Not slowly, but suddenly. People began to turn cold without reason. Opportunities dried up. Joy thinned like smoke. You searched for a cause in the natural world, but the wound was never made by human hands. You were touched by something dark, not through violence, but through intention. A woman crossed into places she was never meant to touch, and she did not come in anger. She came in silence, with hands full of shadows and a smile soaked in sweetness. She cloaked her envy in blessings. Her prayers were wrapped in poison. She didn't shout your name, she whispered it. Into dirt, into mirrors, into water that no longer flowed clean. This was not superstition. It was spiritual assault. Not the kind that leaves bruises on your body, but the kind that makes your soul forget how to rise. But heaven has been watching. God has traced every thread of what she tried to bind. The incantations she spoke behind closed doors, the candles burned with your name beneath them, the altar built in secrecy. All of it has been revealed before the throne of justice. You have felt the fog. You have felt the pull backward, the sudden heaviness after moments of breakthrough. That was not coincidence. It was design. But what was designed in darkness is now being unraveled by light. Heaven does not delay. Michael has drawn his sword. The woman who tried to rewrite your destiny with witchcraft has now been summoned by divine order. Remain calm. The reversal has already begun. She studied you long before she ever spoke to you. Not because she admired you, but because she wanted to become you, to taste your favor, to wear your light like a stolen garment. This woman is not unknown to you. She laughed when you laughed. She complimented what heaven gave you, but inside she cursed the same blessings she pretended to celebrate. She operates not from pain, but from obsession. An ancient hunger sits behind her eyes, a desire to control what was never hers to own. In the spirit she laid traps, small and silent, threading confusion through your thoughts, projecting images into your sleep, disturbing the waters of your peace. That's why you began to question yourself, why dreams turned into silence, why open doors suddenly slammed shut. Not because you were doing something wrong, but because her interference was calculated. She doesn't need to be near to affect you. She only needs access. A photo, a name, a piece of clothing, a memory you didn't guard. But heaven guards what you cannot see. And while she moved in darkness, an angel moved beside you. Archangel Michael has traced every intention, every object, every word spoken into shadows. And now the altar she built is crumbling. The words she chanted are returning to her tongue. The curses she whispered are circling back. This is not your battle to fight, but it is your moment to awaken. Stand still. You are being reclaimed by divine justice. There is a reason your reflection began to feel unfamiliar, why your own laughter sounded distant, why certain mornings felt like waking through fog, as if a part of you had been stolen while you slept. She did not need to confront you face to face. She conjured in silence, spoke to spirits with your name on her tongue, tried to stitch your energy to her will, not out of hatred, but hunger. Her jealousy was not loud, it was precise. She saw something sacred in you, something she could never replicate. And instead of honoring it, she tried to capture it. Through rituals done in secret, she poured her desires into your life like ink into water. That's why things you once loved began to sour. why peace unraveled in your sleep, why your body felt heavy for no reason, as if you were dragging chains no one else could see. But even as she worked in silence, heaven took notice. The weight you felt was not only her doing, it was also the weight of angels standing guard, absorbing what would have broken you. There are things you didn't see, the dreams interrupted before they reached your mind, the curses diffused before they could land, the spirits that fled at the sight of your hidden covering. Michael did not wait for her to strike harder. He moved when you began to question the silence. You were not paranoid, you were discerning. And now the veil is lifting. The spell is breaking. The woman who watched you from behind the curtain is now being watched by the eyes of heaven. She thought your silence meant weakness, but it was your covering. You weren't blind. You were protected. There were whispers in your spirit, nudges that made you retreat, dreams that made you restless. They were not warnings of fear, but signs of heaven preparing your defense. This woman used beauty as a mask, charm as a blade. She never shouted her intentions, she disguised them in kindness. And while you opened your heart, she opened her circle to spirits that don't belong in this world. She mixed your name into potions, bound your energy into jars, buried symbols of you beneath the earth, not out of ritual, but out of rebellion. She wanted what God never assigned her, and when she couldn't receive it, she decided to steal it. But you cannot steal what is sealed. Heaven does not grant blessings that can be snatched by spells. Your calling was never written in ink, it was carved into eternity. Michael has now retrieved the fragments of what was taken. Your sleep will begin to change. Your strength will return without explanation, because what she tampered with has been restored. But this restoration isn't just for healing, it's for revealing. The woman who moved through shadows will now be unmasked in the light, not for your revenge, but for her reckoning. God does not humiliate, He reveals. And revelation is already unfolding. Remain still. Let heaven finish what it started. You've been sensing the shift, not in your mind, but in the air around you. The heaviness is thinning. The silence is changing tone. What once pressed against your chest now recoils, because the spell is fractured, and the one who cast it feels the backlash. She never expected you to endure. Her rituals were designed to wear you down gradually, to make you question your worth, to erode your will in small, quiet ways. But you carried something ancient, a light not lit by candles, a name not shaken by curses. She wove your energy into her altar, believing no one would notice. But heaven noticed. The angels recorded every whisper, every object touched in secret, every jealous thought sealed with intention. And when the time was right, the sword descended, not toward you, but toward the root of the interference. That's why certain people stopped calling, why connections felt like they broke overnight, why you began craving solitude more than noise. God was reclaiming your atmosphere. This was never just spiritual warfare. It was divine exposure. Because before she could rewrite your path, heaven redrew the lines of protection. The spell did not break by accident. It shattered under the pressure of divine light. And now she feels it, the unraveling, the echo of her own intentions folding back toward her. Do not gloat. Do not fear. Just breathe. Because what was used against you is now being rewritten for your deliverance. There is a silence in the spirit when dark power loses its grip. Not the calm of peace, but the pause before consequence. That's where she is now, suspended in that silence. Because the darkness she summoned has turned its gaze back toward her. You may feel the residue still clinging, moments of fatigue, lingering thoughts that don't feel like yours, an atmosphere that hasn't fully cleared. That is not a sign of failure. It's the echo of what used to cling to you, slowly dissolving under heaven's hand. Michael has begun a reversal, not just of her spell, but of everything it delayed. What was frozen is thawing. What was blocked is breaking open. Because curses cannot survive in the presence of divine justice. She bound what she feared, your voice, your vision, your divine timing, and in doing so she revealed her own spiritual fracture. Because no woman rooted in light must ever borrow power from shadows. The spirits she courted have grown restless. They were never loyal, only leased. And now that their purpose has failed, they are demanding from her what she tried to place on you. But your name is no longer tied to her altar. Your image no longer flickers in her mirror. Heaven has burned the connection, and where there was once interference, there is now clarity. So if you feel her thoughts reaching for you, don't speak, don't entertain. Let the silence speak for you. Heaven is louder than her rituals. She underestimated the weight of divine protection. She thought your stillness meant surrender, but what she didn't see was the army of angels encamped around you, waiting, watching, shielding. The moment she whispered your name into darkness, heaven responded. Not with thunder, but with strategy. Because heaven doesn't just react, it orchestrates. You were never meant to fight her spell. You were meant to outlast it. And you did. Every door that closed, every opportunity that vanished, every friendship that soured unexpectedly, none of it was coincidence. It was heaven reshaping the battlefield so she could be isolated in her own design. Now she feels the silence pressing in. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of spiritual exposure. The kind that makes the unseen visible. The kind that burns through mirrors and rituals alike. Her hands, once confident, now tremble, because the spirits she called no longer obey. They demand more than she can offer, and the light she tried to suppress is beginning to shine from the place she feared most. You. You're no longer walking through fog. You're walking in fire. Not the fire of destruction, but the fire of clarity. She cannot follow you here. Her access is gone. Her power has collapsed. And the memory of what she did will soon be swallowed by the silence of divine justice. Move forward. The air is clean. The shadows are fleeing. The spell is done. You've been asking why it took so long. Why the heaviness lingered. Why your spirit felt caged while your prayers echoed unanswered. But deliverance is not always loud. Sometimes heaven waits, not out of neglect, but out of mercy, even for the one who wronged you. God gave her time to turn back, time to release what was never hers, time to repent before judgment arrived. But she chose to go deeper. She chose to anchor herself in shadows, believing your silence was weakness and that heaven's delay meant indifference. She was wrong. There is a finality in the spirit, a moment when God no longer whispers but speaks with thunder wrapped in silence. And that moment has come. You may begin to see signs, doors opening without effort, your energy returning like waves, your name spoken again in rooms where it had once vanished. Because when God restores, He doesn't give you back what was lost, He gives you what was delayed with interest. She feels it too, the unraveling, the grip loosening, the spirit stepping back as light floods in. You were never the target. You were the testimony. This is not about revenge. This is about redemption for you and even for her if she chooses light. But your part is complete. You survived. You remained. And now you rise. Unbound. Unbothered. Unbreakable. There's a shift happening in the invisible. Not loud, not public, but undeniable. The kind of shift that resets atmospheres. The kind that tells the darkness, you've gone too far. She doesn't speak your name anymore, because every time she does, the echo turns on her. Every ritual she built with your image has collapsed. The mirrors cracked, the oils dried, the spirits dispersed. Heaven rewrote the contract. You are no longer tethered to her intentions. The cords have been severed. The energy returned to sender. And the veil she tried to use to blind you has become her own. What once delayed you is now accelerating. There's no blockage now, only momentum. That's why your mind feels clearer, why your rest has deepened, why old habits no longer pull. Because heaven didn't just remove her influence. Heaven restructured your alignment. Michael has stationed watchmen around your destiny. No interference shall enter again without divine permission. And if you feel a sudden pull toward the sacred, a craving for silence, stillness, prayer, lean in. It's the invitation to step into a new authority. What she did will never define you. It will only mark the chapter where your light proves stronger than her spell. You are no longer watched by jealousy. You are surrounded by glory. This is what it means to walk in unshakable covering. Step through. The old realm no longer knows your name. This is the final turning. Not a climax of vengeance, but a quiet coronation in the spirit. What she cast has returned to her hands. Not because you wished it, but because heaven is just. The altar she built no longer speaks. The candles she lit now flicker with fear because they recognize your freedom. You are no longer bound, no longer dimmed, no longer delayed. Your light has been reignited. Not as it was before, but stronger, wiser, untouchable. This woman who once walked boldly through the shadows is now a lesson written in silence. Heaven will deal with her. Whether in mercy or in discipline, that is not your burden to carry. Your only task now is to live fully, without fear, without apology. You are not defined by what was done in secret. You are revealed by what endured through it. The atmosphere around you is clear. The interference has dissolved. And every step you now take echoes with the sound of restoration. Michael remains nearby, not as a warrior in battle, but as a witness to your rising. You are free, and in that freedom, you are dangerous to every darkness that once tried to tame you. This is not the end, it is your ascension. Let heaven finish what it started.